Alright, so the other day I was sent a copy of Dredd on Blu-ray by a subscriber of mine named Ricardo. Not Ricky Ricardo, but a Ricardo nonetheless, and I thank him for this because I am a big fan of this movie. That being said, I had only seen the movie once, so how big of a fan am I really, to be honest? I mean, I quite enjoyed it the first time I saw it, so does that make me a giant fan of it? Maybe, maybe not. Do you have to watch a movie more than once to be a big fan of it? Guess it depends on your definition of that. For me, I'm unsure. I'm unsure. But how did this hold up on a second viewing? Quite well. I definitely didn't like it as much as I had remembered liking it. And I think the reason that has changed is because this film isn't as gory and violent as I remember it to be. Now, that's not to say that this film isn't gory and violent. It is. It's just not to the extent I remember it being. Also, there is a lot of CGI blood. A lot. Now, that, in its defense, is probably because of two things. Number one, slow-mo. And in slow-mo, it's this very hyper-stylized plotline choice that they created for the film, which depends on a lot of very flashy CGI-enhanced things, plus the addition of the second reason, which is 3D, the three-dimensional aspect. So this blood's got to be not only in slow motion, but it's got to be coming at and through the fucking screen at the audience. Yeah, I don't know how else you would have done this in the ways that they were doing this in the film. The enhanced blood by CG is to be expected, but regardless, I don't care. I still don't love it. I still don't love it. It's too fake looking. It's too red. It's just, it's off-putting. It is off-putting. So I think that's what limited this film from being like the amazing film that I remember it being, and being a very good action film and probably the best Dredd film that you could have gotten. Now, I will say, with this film having a $50 million budget, it still feels fairly B grade. I think that's maybe just because of its presentation, though, because some of the lines are fairly cheesy. The fact that the film can be gimmicky, with Dredd never removing his helmet, and as I said, the lines and stuff like that. It feels like, and this isn't a knock at all, but it feels like a $50 million B movie. That's actually kind of a compliment, to be honest. But this just reminds me of like high tier schlock in a way. Like it's this interesting blend. So, but I really do enjoy it. I just remember while I was watching it, I was just sitting there thinking, like, this feels like a B movie with like, if I really think about the way this is playing out, this feels very B movie. The plot line is very thin. It's just, now action movie plot lines are typically thin, but there's like no character development at all. This guy is just going through wrecking everybody. So yeah, it has a B movie quality to it, but not in a negative. Not in a negative. I know a lot of people can use that term in a negative way. You guys should know by now, I sure as fuck don't mean that in a negative, because my whole life is about loving B-graded films. So to me, they're A grades, but it just has that feel to it anyway. So this is, of course, the second attempt of the Dredd film adaptation from the popular, well, I don't know how popular the comic book was, but the comic book, let's say that. The original one being with Sylvester Stallone. Now, I did see the Stallone version in the 90s. I remember it was like PG-13. I honestly don't remember much of it. I will say that Carl Urban in this does look, chin wise, when he has the mask on and everything, it does look like Stallone back in the day. So that was kind of funny, but maybe all like strong chinned men look like fucking Stallone with under that mask. You're not seeing much. You're only seeing from here. And that's another thing. Carl Urban had to agree to be in a big budget action film where he was the lead and never show his face. You know, this was not common. This is not common. Even with something like The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal gets to show his face every once in a while. Very little, but at least some. This is like straight up, you are not going to have your face seen. Now, I was thinking about that while I was watching the film. And I was thinking, well, voice actors do this all the time. They don't get any credit. And this is fucking Carl Urban. Carl Urban has tons of screen time, whether it be in Lord of the Rings or Star Trek or what have you. He's gotten a lot of face time. And for a, kind of a genre fan film like this, I know when I say fan film, it sounds like I'm talking about like something somebody makes on YouTube, but this is like a film that is primarily for comic book fans. Like, and that shows by the box office return. This made $41 million worldwide. This bombed. This bombed outright. And this bombed because the only people who wanted to fucking see this was fans of the comic book. So for me, this is like a fan film. It's not a film made by fans. It's a fucking film made for fans and basically fans alone. Nobody else went to see it. So it's a different kind of fan film, but still fan film nonetheless. But yeah, so as far as the story goes, there is one city left. Now, how this equates to the comics and how this lines up with them, I have no fucking clue. I've never read a Judge Dredd comic in my life. So you can tell me, if you're a big Judge Dredd fan and, you want to hit up the comments, let me know how close this is, in style and in story and all that as the comics. And who, then there's all different runs of comics. Comics are difficult, because there's so many iterations and so many different variations of comics and stories and plot lines and different takes and different writers and different eras. And fuck, dude, I don't even know how popular Judge Dredd was. I don't know how many runs there were. I don't know how many like direct storylines there were, how many spin-offs, how many this and that. I fucking no clue. So whatever, I'm not a Judge Dredd expert, but I just know that Dredd in the comics, I don't think he ever shows his face, right? Isn't that a staple of his character? So that was like a big thing for people. Like, he can't show his face. He can't show his face. It's like something Dredd never does, which is interesting. Because if Judge Dredd is like this in the comics, he's a pretty uninteresting character, realistically. Like, he's like the macho badass that would be cool for an action film that's 90 minutes like this, and he's just going in there and he's kicking ass, and he doesn't have to have any character development. He doesn't have to have any family at home. He doesn't have to be doing things for what he thinks is like, morally and ethically right. Like, yes, he's principled in his law. Like, he is the law. I am the law. I am the law. But I don't feel like his character ever has a moment where he sells us on why he believes these are the laws. He doesn't have any moral compass. There's none of that shit to him. So in this film, that works fine, right? We're just watching this guy wreck fucking 200 stories of perpetrators, right? So he's just laying waste with his rookie. So that works for 90 minutes. Now, for a comic run, I'm not sure like how long that would last, where it would just be like, because it's hard to adapt action to comics that's intriguing and engaging for long enough without plot and character development. And if Judge Dredd's character is like this, then that would be Judge Dreadful to listen to read. I couldn't do it, man. So I don't know. I don't know how much Judge Dredd's like this in the comics, but I don't know. Maybe I have to check him out one day and see. Now, a lot of people have compared this to the original Raid movie, which actually, after having watched this, I'd like to watch and discuss the Raid 1 and 2, the Raid Redemption and the Raid 2 Berenthal. If you guys haven't seen those fantastic films, need to watch them. And if you want to see me talk about them, let me know in the comments if I should cover the Raid films. I'm gonna do it whether you want to have them or not. But if you like, I get enough people saying them, that down there. Like if I get like fucking 10 comments, 15 comments in a row, like fuck yeah, man, I want the raid, I want the raid, I want the raid. If I saw enough of that, I'd be like, all right, I got to do it like now, Now, and the same's true if like 50 people are like, don't do it. Then I'll definitely want to do it even more. I'm such a prick. So if nobody says anything, then I might just put them off for a little while. But I'll do them eventually. So now in this one, we find out that there's one city left in America. There's only 800 million people. That's a lot of people, but 800 million people live in this one town that stretches from Boston to Washington, D.C. And it's kind of like Coruscant on how it's set up. The hell was that? Did a light just go off behind me? That was really weird. Am I fucking crazy? I don't know. That was weird. The lights, I feel like, all dropped behind me. But there is no lights behind me, so I don't really know what the hell I just saw there. Sometimes my lights go in and out. Like, they'll get much brighter and then lower. It's really bizarre, and I don't really know what does it. That was fucking tripped me out. Anyways, but yeah, so the city is kind of set up like Coruscant from Star Wars, where it's like just a straight up from, wall to wall buildings. It's a total concrete jungle, man. There's nothing else there but buildings, buildings, buildings. Now in Star Wars, the entire planet is made of buildings, which of course makes no sense, but it's Star Wars. Who gives a fuck? How are they producing oxygen and like I'm sure this is explained somewhere, but nonsensically, I'm sure. There's no way that a planet could sustain like that, but whatever. And there's no way they could get enough water. It doesn't matter. Coruscant doesn't. That's not what we're here to talk about. Anyway. But yeah, you would think after the world had kind of destroyed itself and we got ourselves down. Now, the population's 800 million. If it was 800,000, it'd be different. Probably be more realistic to like what I would think would be potentially a utopian type society, where people kind of see the errors of their ways and they're like, oh my god, like look how many people died, we're so stupid. But I don't know, people are I don't want to sit here and sound so pessimistic and have some kind of like nihilistic perspective towards the world. I don't like living with that perspective, honestly. I know it's kind of a default for most people. They're like, oh, people suck, the world's horrible, humans are terrible, this and that. I'm not that person. I definitely believe that there's a degree of truth to that there's a lot of bad people, and that historically people have not really made a lot of great decisions. But there's a lot of great people out there, and we need to not count them out. And I would hope that there could be something catastrophic or monumental that would change the majority of people that were left. But I guess that would be considered optimistic. I just more hopeful, I guess. Maybe there's a naivete. How the fuck you say that to me, but whatever. I don't care. Alright, so I like how they come in and they're trying to talk to this guy, and he's like trying to talk him down, and he's like, alright, here's your option. You can either die or you can have life without parole. And he's like holding this girl hostage, and he's like, you're not a very good negotiator. And he's like, I'm not fucking asking again. That's great stuff right there. That's just straight up shows you exactly who Judge Dredd is. He's there to uphold the law, and he is, as we know, judge, jury, and executioner. And this guy does not comply, so he shoots him in the face with what is like a flare and just burns this guy's head out. That is so fucking great. That is so great. They're basically the police, and everyone refers to them as judge when they speak to them, which is cool. And Dredd is all about the rules, man. He just sticks to the rules, the letter of the law. He's like religious with them, and he is devout to the law. Now, this gang, of course, is holding people hostage and is killing and skinning people, shooting these people up with this slow-mo drug that, uh, you know, makes your brain perceive time as going 1% of the speed that as we would normally perceive it as. And she skins these people and then shoots them up with this stuff and then throws them off of a balcony. So instead of it taking 20 seconds to hit the ground, it's gonna take like 2,000 seconds to hit the ground. Jesus, imagine falling and thinking for that long. Now, how the drug could properly work, I don't feel like your brain would be processing thoughts that fast then. Like if your brain was perceiving things at 1%, your mind itself then would there be slowed down with it. So as long as it took you to think of something, if that took 5 seconds to be like, holy shit, I'm falling, it would take 5 seconds, not 500 seconds. Like, I just don't see that being connected. But I guess how the fuck do I know how slow-mo works? This is a made-up drug and probably not realistic in any way, shape, or form. But I don't know. I can't, like, your reaction time, but same thing with your body. Your body can't move faster than you're perceiving it. So it's not like someone could come in the room and you could like Neo the bullets, like in the Matrix. It would be like the bullet would be coming at you and you could maybe watch it slowly coming at you, but you couldn't move out of the way. Your body would be moving so slow that you just keep seeing this thing coming closer and you'd be like trying to move. You'd be like, why the fuck am I so slow? And the bullet would be coming, no, move. So that'd be kind of fucked up. But even at 1%, a bullet would be moving so fast I don't even think you'd see it. Like it would just be boom. Although in the movie it shows that it's like going through their face and this and that. But I mean, a bullet's moving faster than the speed of sound. It's moving fucking fast, man. I guess. No, let's see. A bullet moves at like something over 1,000 miles per hour. So then, what's the sound barrier? I can't remember. Fuck, I used to know that. But somewhere in the 1,000 area. Maybe a little below, maybe a little above. Whatever it is. I guess if you were to slow, let's say it's 1,000. It's not, but let's say it's close. If you were to slow it down to 1%, 1,000 would drop all the way down to 10. Oh wow! So then it'll only be going 10 miles per hour. Oh, then you definitely see it. And you definitely see it. 10 miles per hour is not fast at all. So yeah, you just be like, it'd be coming at you. It'd be coming like this. This is about how fast it'd be coming. So you'd see it. You'd only see it for maybe a second, but you'd still see it. Anyways, that was way more time and based on zero science because I don't know the numbers. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I wish I had the phone right here so I could, look this shit up. But, 90% of the shit I say on here I'm thinking of in the moment, not while I'm watching. Let's see what else. His partner is a mutant, and she has the ability to psychically look into people's minds and fuck with them. And her psychic interrogation on that guy when he's like trying to manipulate and warp the situation to gross her out and like make her blow him and all that shit. This is a fantastic sequence. Of course, I would have liked to see it a little bit more in depth. I would have liked to see her fuck with this guy way more. And I feel like a bigger budget or something. I don't know. Regardless, the scene's still very cool. But I just love this idea of mental interrogation like that. But yeah, what I was trying to say earlier is the gang is terrible because they're killing these people and throwing them over this. And they're holding an entire, complex hostage, which is essentially its own city. So this is definitely the reason why these guys deserve the cops to come and kill them. Because I'm somebody who's like, drugs aren't a good enough reason to arrest people. But with what they're doing, yeah, these guys need to die. These guys need to go for sure. I'm with Dredd on this one. The only thing to do is execute. And then we got Lena Headey here, who plays Mama, and she really's got a make under here. She got a big old scar on her face. She looks like fucking Gary Oldman in True Romance or something. Must be White Boy Day. And we've also got Domhnall Gleeson in here as well as this kind of hostaged tech guy who's had his eyes ripped out and replaced with, like, you know, upgraded eyes. So he's pretty, yeah, I like his performance in this. He feels very submissive and abused. He does that well. And then as far as the action sequences go, they're very good. They're not as great as I remember. I was remembering people's heads fucking blowing off and all this, and that does happen, but not at the degree I remember it happening. But it's still good. It's still very good. When the bodies hit the ground, like 3 of them, one after the other, right before the judges are called in, it's fucking gnarly. And then when Dredd pulls back the sheet and he plays with that guy's head and he lifts up his mouth and the head's like just hollow and falling apart, that's fantastic, man. That's such a great gore, and that's the stuff I remember, and that's the stuff I love. And then she doesn't wear a helmet because she thinks it blocks her psychic abilities, which makes sense. And of course, the rookie character is supposed to be us, and we're being guided through this unfamiliar terrain with these unfamiliar practices because our law is nothing, of course, like this. So we have to have this character, and we want to see her so we have this kind of more emotional connection with her. And there's some character development with her, but even with her, there's very little. Like, this film does not worry about any of that shit. This movie is just an all-out, you know, action extravaganza. So, yeah, that's fine. That's fine, and it's good. It works here perfectly. Now, if they try to do multiple films like this, I don't know, that gimmick might run its course, but regardless, I'd still watch it. The homeless guy gets crushed by the blast doors coming down. Oof, brutal. And then the whole place is put on lockdown. There's 75,000 people inside, and Mama tells them all that Dredd and the other chick, what was her name? I'm like vaguely picturing her name tag right now, but it's escaping me. But yeah, kill them or you're never getting out of here. And so she sends this entire team after them, which is very similar to the raid, so I definitely understand. And this was written by Alex Garland, of all people. Jesus, man, when I had forgotten that, but when I went and looked it up and remembered, I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's right, Alex fucking Garland from Annihilation and Ex Machina and 28 Days Later, and he wrote the book on The Beach, which I actually am a pretty big fan of, with Leonardo DiCaprio. That was not a big hit back then. It was Danny Boyle, right? He directed that. And then, of course, he did 28 Days Later, so they collaborated on multiple things. But yeah, I always liked The Beach. And then Alex Garland also did this TV series recently called Devs, which is fantastic, and I highly recommend. So when I saw Garland was involved, I was like, oh yeah, wow. Totally forgot on that one. Now, the director of this ended up doing, you know, he's done other stuff and he'd done stuff before this, but no other action, which is really wild because the action in this is really cool and the sets look great, and you know, but I think it's because it bombed, right? It bombed, so they were like, nope, you don't get another chance. You had a chance, you blew it, the end. That sucks, man. That sucks, because this is a really cool comic book adaptation. Like, we need, you know, we have a lot of great comic book adaptations these days, but not a lot of R-rated ones. Not a lot of R-rated ones, but there you go. I like how Mama just takes out an entire floor on her building, just boom, you know, turret guns, knocking down absolutely everything. The rookie having to kill that guy and then finding out that woman, it was her husband, the woman that she tricked into letting them into the room. This is like places where character development could have happened, but I feel like that might have hurt the film for a good amount of people who were just there to watch Dredd murder people right and left, which is what you get in this film. But you know, I don't know. This film does a good balance of it, I suppose, but it focuses way more on that. And then, yeah, we get the line, "I am the law," which is great. I like that because I think that's Judge Dredd's like signature line. It's not just from the Stallone version. I'm pretty sure that's like his line in the comics as well. So it's good that it's replayed here because it's the most famous line from that movie. And to hear it again here, this is a much better version of it. It's used much better. Not that every line is works here. It isn't. Like the line where Dredd is about to get killed by the corrupt judge, and he's like, "Wait," and the guy's like, "Wait for what? Wait for this? I expected more from you. You know, this and that. Like, wait for like 2 more seconds of your measly life and this and that." And then she shoots him, and it's like, don't say anything. You don't need to say anything. Like, it's very obvious to the audience here. We don't need anything. And he's just like, "Wait for her to shoot you in the face, or wait for you to shoot you," or something like that. And it's like, we didn't need that line. We didn't need that line. And if we did need that line, it could have been written better than it was. That was just a cheesy line, and I didn't like it at all. It just didn't work at all to me. It was forced, and no. Anyway, two, when he crushes that one fucking judge's throat, or his larynx, or his, his trachea or esophagus, or whatever the fuck he crushed his throat. That was great. Just, it's just like trying to suck in, his whole neck is collapsed. That's fucking brutal. And then I love that the woman is like telling Mama, like, "Hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna kill her, or she's gonna hesitate and then I'll kill her." And then as soon as she comes around the corner, the rookie meets her, psychically scans her, and then just shoots her to death instantly. The girl never gets a shot off. It's like a 1-second scene. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's totally unexpected, and I love that kind of shit. So there you go. And then, yeah, I mean, there's a good amount of action sequences throughout. I mean, the whole fucking movie's action. But there's a lot of really cool action sequences where people are getting, their heads blown off or whatnot. It's just CG hurts it. CG hurts it. I like when the one dude tries to shoot her gun and it rejects and it blows his hand off. You better hope that thing is accurate as fuck, man. I would not want a gun that, if, like, say I ate something before and it was like not covering my hands and making it so that my ID didn't read clearly, it blew off my hand. That's a really touchy gun. I don't want a gun that would blow off my hand if I don't push in the right really combination really quick, or it doesn't match my thumbprints or my fucking DNA or whatever. Like, I'm just not leaving that gun to chance like that. That's just me. And then let's see. She lets Dom's character go because she says it's what's right. And then we find out that Mama has rigged the building to blow up in the case of her death. And Dredd takes her and tells her, like, "I don't think that your signal can go through 200, stories of concrete, but let's find out." And he throws her out the window to her death, 200 stories below. But before he does that, shoots her up with some slow-mo so that she can have the fate of the people that she killed at the beginning of the film, a fitting death to a bitch. She was such a horrible person. But he took her down. That was great. Just felt like in the end there, why would she leave a guy who is right outside of her door with the combination and he has no allegiance to her? Like, why would he be out there in the first place? He should be in the room with her after lockdown. And he's like, straight up, "You will not get through that room without this combination in my head. It's 10 inches of steel. Whatever, you're not getting through there." And she has no problems on killing this guy. So either bring him in there or kill him. Why she would let that guy sit out there and possibly be interrogated when he doesn't even like her and she threatens his life on a daily basis, this makes no sense. She would have killed him. Now, what would have made sense is if she would have shot him, he would have died, then the psychic rookie would have came in the room and been like, "I have a pulse," and then went into his mind and grabbed that code from his head before he was really dead. He looks like he's dead, but he's only mostly dead. Okay? If anyone's seen Princess Bride, you know where I was about to go with that, but we'll spare everybody. But yes, he's only mostly dead. And, she comes in, she takes it from his mind. She either then he dies, or she medically dresses him and lets him go. Whatever. Either way, but Mama should have killed him. Mama should have pulled him into the room. Whatever. Having him just right there at the door is too convenient, and it just does not seem like something she would do. So that's stupid. It is what it is. And she calls in the corrupt cops as well. I like the what do we do? How are we going to stop these guys? Call 911. That's good stuff. Interesting that the number is still 911 in this kind of post-apocalyptic world. That's like this totally different society and everything. Calling Judge Dredd is still 911. Interesting. But yeah, there's all these different kinds of bullets and stuff in his gun. It seems like a very small weapon to be putting out all that stuff. And the clip seems to all be the same kind of stuff. So I don't know how one's an incendiary and how one is, what does he call it? He calls it a, not a last shot, something, whatever. The flare that goes into the guy's mouth. Hot shot, that's what it is. He calls him a hot shot, but he's really trying to tell his gun hot shot, which he fires right into the guy's mouth. But yeah, it's like, are all those bullets capable of doing all of those different things? But he doesn't. It straight up says you're out of ammunition for that specific kind of bullet. No incendiaries, no flashes, no stuns, no nothing. He tries to cycle through them when that guy's coming at him, and it just keeps coming up blank, 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 blank. So that clip holds all those different things, and I don't know. But whatever, still, it's a super fun film, and I appreciate Ricardo sending it to me. It's not without its problems. I definitely would change things. I'd kind of mentioned them, but it's cool. It's a very cool film. Hopefully we get a sequel one day. And I think there was supposed to be a TV series based in the world of Dredd, and Carl Urban was set to possibly return, but who knows, man? Shit like that rumored or gets developed or announced, and then it never happens. So I'll believe it when it's on the screen and I've watched all of it. That's when I'll believe things are real. So until then, for now we have this, and maybe one day I'll go back and visit the 1995, I want to say, Judge Dredd with Stallone, but that's not going to be for a while. I don't even think I own it. I'm 99% sure I don't own it. But if I do, maybe I'll move it up the list. But I'd love to do more action, man. I love it. I love it. I can watch and talk about action all day. All the Arnold movies and all that shit. Sign me up. I want to talk about Commando. I want to talk about fucking all that stuff. That'd be so fun. Anyways, adios.